On today's show, how past life events impact future financial decisions. Part 5 of this week's series on what women want from financial advisors. With nationally recognized woman strategist, adult educator, and adjunct professor at Roosevelt University, Dr. Barb Provo. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and contributing author to InsMark, Life Specs, and Backroom Technician. Let's get down to business. Well, welcome to the show, Barb. Day
Thanks.
5 days of living in your world.
Yes.
Wow. And I have to tell you, today we're going to get into it because so many people react financially because of past life events, some good, some bad.
Right.
And that really colors our thinking. So we look at money through a different lens because we've had money events or impact events that were significant. And we have to figure out, hey, was that warranted? And should I stay there or no? That is something. If you lost money in 2008, perfect example, I noticed that men were able to recover faster. Women seem to be really hurt by the event, took it almost personally. So I want to be able to talk about some of the ways we talk about these things. And like, for example, a loss of a job. A person's committed to a financial budget, right? And then you lose your job.
Right.
Let's say the family's predicated on two incomes. Remember, the majority of Americans now, both incomes. We're dealing with dual income raising kids.
Yes.
That's the predominant block. So if you have that, one person has their job loss, they may not be able to stay in the house that they bought.
Right.
So talk a little bit about how this actually speaks and addresses to women and how we have to be cognizant of that as advisors, past events, making future decisions.
Well, you know, when events happen in people's lives, as an adult educator, that's when they come to learning. So if they have a baby, they want to learn how to feed and clothe and take care of a baby. If they buy a house, if they lose a house, if they have a job, if they lose a job, all these events are impactful in somebody's life. So when I was thinking about this segment, I thought this is why people come to a learning situation, but this is also why people need to think about their finances. And the data shows that so many women are not planning enough for their financial future. They're not saving, they're out of, their life is that they're out of the working world because they're taking care of a child or somebody who's sick, but then they do get retooled. They get back into the working world. They're not making as much money, maybe they're just part-time, they're not getting the benefits because they're part-time, or by the time they go full-time, they've lost so much time in terms of investing for the retirement. And as we know, they live longer, so they really need to stretch out those monies to make sure that they're taken care of.
Now, when we have life events that are negative, especially if they are around money,
yes,
it's very it imprints on your psyche. It's hard to shake it.
Right.
So you went through something. Now maybe you're more conservative. Maybe you're not willing to risk more. As an advisor, I have to filter this out and I have to think about this. Is this warranted? Can I help this person move on from an event that's been hurtful?
Sure.
So when I'm thinking about 2008, and I just went through so many clients just listening to the ache and the complete, I would have to say they felt abandoned by the system at large. And so now they're trying to put their life back together. People are working longer because of 2008, women and men.
Yes.
But women even the more so, especially. Now you were talking about a couple days ago in one of our segments, you talked about how there's much more single women households now. Single households with children, single households without it. Women that are single, they have so many today issues, but they aren't attending to tomorrow's issues, like retirement, like their own long-term care.
Right.
And you suggested earlier, you said something about they're taking care of people. Yeah, maybe they're probably their mother.
Sure.
Because they're the number one caregiver.
Yeah.
A daughter is the number one caregiver most of the time to their mother.
True.
So how do I make this all happen? Because I want to make good decisions, and I want to be able to move forward with my life. I don't want it to always be stuck in the past and just retreading losses.
So that's a great question, and a lot of the data shows there's this big gap, blah, blah, blah. And I ask the question, why? Why is there a gap? Why aren't these people taking care of themselves? And a lot of it is because they don't trust their financial advisor, they don't find people that they can talk to or are knowledgeable, they don't have people that they can ask questions of. They're not educated, they're not fully what I say, confident and competent to make those decisions for themselves. So there's a huge opportunity here to really educate these female clients and let them know the burning issues that are right before them now, that they need to take action today in order to make sure that they're prepared for their financial future and for their long-term health concerns.
You know, one of the trends I've seen recently in the last 5 years is women are now forming investment clubs.
Sure.
All women. Because now they're getting input. There are people that are, oh, hi, I'm always reading about ETFs, mutual funds. The other person's always reading about insurance and long-term care. They're all getting together, banding together to bring their learning curve into the 21st century so that they feel competent enough to make a good decision.
Yes, and that's another way that women really are powerful in their learning. They build networks, they come together, they share information, they go out, they do research, they bring it back in, and they can build their own network of trust and information in those ways. And that's a great opportunity for other financial advisors to leverage and take an opportunity with.
One of the things I've seen, one of my favorite shows on television is Shark Tank, and I've noticed a huge population of female entrepreneurs right in their middle age, in that 35 to 45, 50 area, and they really seem to be, talk about risk takers. They're going out and they reinvent something, and some of these people, of course, have hit the jackpot because they had a great idea. The loss of their job actually forced them into an entrepreneurial situation, which they normally would have never been into.
True.
So when I think about how past life events, we talk about negative ones, but here's one that's positive. You look at all these women that are going to Shark Tank and hitting home runs and are financially secure because they had a great idea that nobody else came up with.
Yeah.
We come back from the break. We're going to continue our talking about this because this is really a huge issue because we want to be able to read our client and understand why they're having difficulties making good decisions or bad decisions. You know, we just want to know why they're doing it. And we'll be right back after the commercial. It's not how much money you make for your clients, it's how much money they get to keep, especially in retirement. But retirement income could cause Social Security benefits to be taxed. One tax advantage alternative is life insurance designed as a non-modified endowment contract that can generate tax-free income without taxing Social Security benefits. These contracts offer differing funding options depending upon your client's risk tolerance. For more information on how life insurance can be part of your retirement planning, just email me at steve@downtobusiness.tv. Brought to you by Ash Brokerage, the practice enhancement company. Well, welcome back to our second segment. We're with Dr. Barb Provo. We're talking about life events, you know, the things that have happened in our past that really influence our future money decisions. And there are a lot of things that when you talked about death of parents, I mean, I've lost my parents, my wife lost her parents. We're the next generation up. Those events were impactful to us.
Yeah.
You know, we used to talk to mom and dad. They're not there any longer. So that impact, how did they live? Well, I can say when my parents died, I said, I don't want to be sitting in poverty. I'm going to change. That was an impetus for some people. Their parents lived very close to the ground. They were living on welfare, Medicaid, food stamps. It makes a difference. The next generation boomer, we're awake to all that now. And we're saying, I'm not living that way. And how we make our decisions today are going to depend on how we're going to live tomorrow. So it's really a big deal. Talk about inheritance. I kind of think this is a whopper. We're going to be inheriting the greatest exchange of wealth is going to be happening all in these next less than a decade now.
Yeah.
How is that going to impact women? Because they're going to get this money.
Yeah, I think they called it the triple dip or whatever. They would get inheritance from their own parents. Of course, if they live longer, they could get money from their spouse, and oftentimes their spouse's parents. So they are coming into a lot of money.
I love the triple dip thought.
I know.
Well, it is, and right now, I'd want to be able to tell my female clients and connect with them about that issue alone and how there's ways to make that really leverage and work for you. I've noticed in inheritance, people especially women, are much more given to not only helping their children, helping their grandchildren, or in our generation, because of longevity now, maybe even great-grandchildren.
Right.
And charities.
And charities are a big deal too, right.
Huge issue. Also, you know, when we're talking about saving, and most Americans don't want to have a mortgage going into their retirement. They don't. Okay. And we're the first generation that has actually skewed, or we've actually moved away from that kind of paradigm. And we need to return to it because the boomers are the sandwich generation. So I have a female that's head of household. This is a big stat. Female head of households taking care of mom in an LTC, just finishing off paying tuition for her kids, still haven't paid off her mortgage, and she's 64.
Right.
See, to me,
that's scary.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things, it's hard to tell a female client who really wants to engage her children and be the best for them. Yes, but you're hurting yourself at your expense of helping your children.
True.
So when I'm looking at inheritance, desire to have a home, and then I've seen this whole new thing. You start a whole new career.
Right.
What's with that?
Yeah, a lot of people have retirement careers, even when they retire, or, it used to be 7 different careers or 7 different job changes. It's multiple now that people have, a lot of job changes, a lot of different things happening, different new skill sets, and different new technologies coming into play. Lots of things, there's a lot more change. People are not staying at their company for 20, 30, 40 years anymore.
How big is it for a woman to make sure that her children are treated with equity?
Big.
How big is that? I'm assuming little Johnny's not a felon when I say that. So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, most of them are they want equality.
Women are nurturers. They want to take care of their children. They want to make sure that their children are cared for.
That no one's over the other.
Right, equally and as much as they can. So it's them, their children, and charities. Those are the big 3 components that they want to make sure they're taken care of.
Well, another thing that I've noticed, a lot of people have experienced a second marriage that's happened in their midterm to a little bit in life. Now we have blended families.
True.
How important is this for a woman coming into her second marriage? He has kids, she has kids, and I want to be able to bless everybody, but the dollar only goes so far.
It's complicated, and I think a lot of that has to do with the amount of money and the relationships that they have with one another. So it's complicated, but they do need to think all of that through, because in the long run, like you're saying, women need to make sure they're taken care of before a lot of passing funding on to their children.
I liken what you just said. This is a huge issue. I liken this unto the old FAA rule for flying. In the old days, they would say, if cabin pressure, we lose cabin pressure, the mask will fall down. And it says, you need to put the mask on yourself first, not on your child first, which was counterintuitive to every maternal instinct.
Yeah.
Because, they had to institute it because what were women doing in those situations?
Yeah.
They were taking care of their children first, and they were both perishing. They had to figure, and I liken the same financial issue to this, allegory to that.
Sure.
I need to make sure that you're taken care of. And I'll try to help you with your kids. But I want to make sure you're going to live to 90, 95.
Right.
I mean, most gals that are watching their weight, exercising, being really good about all the good things that they want to get into behaviors. I think we're going to see some really unbelievable numbers.
No doubt.
And so I need to take care of her first. And then if I have things, but women don't do that though.
Because they're nurturers. They want to take care of their family, and they want to make sure everybody around them is taken care of before they're taken care of. But it's so critical now that these women realize now's the time to start planning for your retirement. There's a huge gap there. It's going to happen to you. You need to make sure that you are prepared financially for your retirement and for your long-term care needs.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's show. Remember, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always consult your tax advisor, legal counsel, and your broker-dealer compliance officer. Missed an episode? Just hop out to our video archives. And remember, you could be wiser as an educated advisor. I'm Steve Savant. We'll see you next week.